Jeremy, appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me. Glad to
You're
be here.
you're in Spain, so I'm just in Columbus, Ohio. So Spain sounds a lot nicer at the current moment in time. But Jeremy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, so that everybody can kind of understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur since about 19 years old. I got introduced to my first entrepreneurial opportunity, and I had a blast in network marketing for a few years. And I built this really big affiliate network.
Mm,
We had about like 5,000 people in this affiliate network. And it's where I made my tiny little first chunk of change and got my feet wet in sales and building relationships. And after a few years, the company had a internal problem and they shut down basically overnight.
mm. When you say network marketing, what does that mean? That means a lot of different things to me.
Network marketing, the industry.
Well, just like what was the product, like because I'm thinking of like selling Advocare or something like affiliate marketing. What was it?
Yeah, it was a health and wellness product.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty general, just a alternative to some of the bad energy drinks on the market and things like that, and supplements, liquid vitamin supplements, basically.
So you're one of the people that made money doing that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I made this little chunk of change over the first few years. When it shut down, over 24 hours, I was sitting there. I looked back and I was like, man, if I could have done one thing more, I would have worked on building my name
Right.
and my reputation just as much as any product or company or industry even that I was representing at the time. And so that kind of led me down this path of personal branding, right? This
Mm.
concept, this kind of term that is very popular now, but I don't know, maybe 10 years ago it wasn't as popular. And so yeah, that led me in my early 20s to kind of go down this path of personal branding. And 6, 7 years later now, just a long story short, we have a company called Influencer Club and work hands-on with a lot of high-level entrepreneurs, helping them build a really strong, world-class personal brand, go get their message out there, impact the market. So
I
yeah.
definitely we'll talk about that. But what was that day like when you found out that company was shutting down? Because I assume it's sort of like a reoccurring revenue situation where it's
Yeah.
like the people that you have brought in and they're selling, and then every time they sell, that benefits you, and then like overnight, boom,
Yeah.
that
It
stream of
was,
income's gone.
yeah, it was, it was a wake-up call. It was, I mean, we were all so young that, I don't think it was as tough to, move on as, say, later in your career when
Yeah.
something really, really big, when you're taking care of your family, you have,
Hmm.
10, 20, 40 employees, maybe things like that at that level. And it had kind of taken a turn, in general, where things weren't trending up either way. So,
Mm.
uh, but it was still tough. It was still tough, in your early, I don't know, 20, 21 years old and 22 years old maybe. And then, this thing that you think is,
For
going to,
forever, you're gonna do
yeah,
this
yeah, exactly,
forever.
that first big opportunity. And so, yeah, I mean, but again, that was the teaching point, the turning point, and you know, kind of took steps to figure out what was next.
Well, I mean, I think there's two important lessons in there. One is if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, start early, because like if you fail, and this is like what happened with me. I started a business while I was in college,
Yeah.
not because I thought like, oh, I'll be able to do this for forever, but I had a professor tell us sort of all the reasons why in your brain you shouldn't start a business while you're in college are actually the reasons you should. Like you're
Yeah.
young, thus like you have a long runway, like you have no money, thus you have nothing to lose. Like, you don't know a lot of things. Well, you're in college, like there's professors everywhere around you. There's marketing professors and accounting professors and everything. And that was just like a eureka moment for me. It made so much sense. So I started that company. And of course, that's not the company that, I'm involved in now, just similar to you, because things change. But if they change when you're 21, 22, then if you're like, okay, I did this for the decade and now I want to change, you're like 31, 32. You're like, okay, well, I'm not 52,
Yeah.
54, 64 kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Testing and, being okay with going and trying different ideas, trying different businesses, because like you said, become an entrepreneur at an early age. I would say an additional thought is, find things that you enjoy doing at an early age. Go through some different things and figure out what clicks with you, what gets you excited, what gets you fired up in the morning to go and do it. For me, the reason I enjoyed the network marketing business a lot was because it was people, it was relationships, it was sales, it was, high energy, it was traveling. And of course, we were fortunate enough to be on a platform that all of it was basically done online. I mean, we did, of course, a lot of, in-person meetings and events and things like that, but it kind of, I feel spoiled because from that moment, I decided whatever business is next is going to be, I want it to be something that I can do from anywhere at any time and just have that system, that foundation in place.
Well, you did it the right way. I'm in Columbus, you're in Spain, so you figured something out.
Come on, man.
I love Columbus. I like, this would be my home base, always my home base. But I'd like to come hang out with you in Spain every once in a while if I get the chance.
I mean, I don't see why. Like, to be honest, just on that topic for a second, if anybody's listening that hasn't gone and done a little traveling and done a little exploring, it is not as difficult. It's not as expensive. Most people don't go even visit Europe or Asia. Not because they don't have the money or the time or anything. It's like they just don't put it on the agenda. They feel uncomfortable to do it. I would highly recommend taking some time and going anywhere that might intrigue you outside of the US, if that's where you are, and go get some,
Well, I mean, right off the gate, I'm reading right now, only 51% of Americans have a valid passport. So it's like not even a priority for half the country. And
right.
I feel really lucky because I work with people who are like, our warehouse associates, and they're really great people, but they're very blue collar folks.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like, I've never left the state. And it's like,
right.
You've never left the state. You're 28 years old and you've never left the state of Ohio. So yeah, we're definitely lucky. And
well, you talk about, testing and trying different ideas at an early age before you get older, and maybe you want to find a place to, settle down, for lack of better words. Same exact thing with travel and moving around, and go to a big city, go spend a year in a big city, whether it's in the US or elsewhere. Go travel while you are young and still, nimble, moving. And then later on, you can kind of decide, you'll have a bit more experience and maybe some ideas as to where you might want to end up in your life.
I read this book by Bill Perkins, Die with Zero. And one of the ideas that he has is that, like, as you get older, those experiences are just sort of harder to do, which totally makes sense. Because when you're like 68 years old and, someone's like, let's fly to Tokyo today. You're just like, no, like, no, like, I don't want to fly to Tokyo. I got breakfast tomorrow with, like, my crew. Like, you just don't want to do those things. You don't want to go skiing in the Alps. Like, skiing, and for most people probably stops at like 40 or 50. Rock climbing probably stops for most people like 35, 40. And high contact sports probably stop for most people when they're like 25, 30. So it's like all these things in life that you're like, I want to do. You kind of have to do them when you're young. And he talks about his buddy who went to Europe and kind of just like slept on couches and hostels and like kind of made it through on little to no money. Once you're like 35, 40, you're like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not sleeping in a hostel as a 40-year-old who's like kind of successful. So just like that era of your life is sort of gone. So it's cool that you were able to do that while you were young.
Yeah, I think it's worth it to put those uncomfortable, because that's what it is. I think for most, I think it's worth it to push yourself to, go to some of these places in the world, or again, try ideas in business. I mean, they're both very connected with, testing, exploring, gathering new info, being open to, different ideas, different cultures. We just got back from Tokyo. That was my first 2 weeks in Tokyo, and it was incredible.
That's what everyone tells me, that it's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And I never really thought about Europe was the crazy first destination from the US. And then it was like, well, we're halfway there. Let's, give or take, let's go let's go do this for the honeymoon for my wife and I. And yeah, it was amazing. Took away a ton. The culture completely different in a city with close to 40 million people. You can walk through that city and everyone is so calm. They're not talking above a whisper in a city with 40 million people. It's incredible. Yeah. Really, really interesting.
That's amazing, man. All right, we got to get to some influencer stuff, man.
Yeah, sure.
So that business came about after you sort of realized when this first business you were in, it stopped. You hadn't really been able to like take anything away. So it sounds like you said, well, what's the thing that I always take with me, myself? So
Yeah.
I need to build my own personal brand. So
Yeah, exactly.
how did that journey look for you?
Well, I mean, it wasn't super clear, okay, as it is now, putting the pieces together backwards. But you know, I did have that feeling of, okay, I really enjoyed the personal development side of the network marketing industry. So we spent a lot of time around people like Bob Proctor. We learned from, you know, the Jim Rohn to, you know, Eric Thomas and the Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, we watched all these guys speak on small stages before they became, you know, the worldwide name or the massive brand that they are, you know, 5 to 10 years later. And so I think those things started to set in where it was like, no matter what business we do, I want to make a name for myself. I see how attention flows into their business. 10 different people on stage with 10 different books. And yet all of it is flowing, you know, into whatever business they have. And so I went down the route of, you know, just starting to create some content. And then I started to reach out and I found somebody that was doing a business again that I thought made me feel excited. Right. And so I saw someone who was getting into the social media space. They wanted to start kind of managing social media accounts, helping people grow, helping them utilize their Instagram. And so this was, you know, 7 to 10 years ago. And so I ended up, you know, getting into another business with a guy and going down to South Florida, and we grew that business for many years together and helped a lot of amazing people. And I met a mentor of mine who helped people like Patrick Bet-David and Grant Cardone and Damon John and Kevin O'Leary, and helped these guys grow to their first 1 million followers. And in return, I sat there and I studied it and I reinvested and built that process and did all of that for myself for many years. And then eventually build an entire team to build systems, really just to solve a lot of these, you know, challenges for myself. Right. And that's what ended up turning into a company to serve others and help other people.
So while you're learning all this stuff and you're kind of trying to build your personal branding, what's the ultimate goal? Do you have like I'm going to launch X business? Because this sounds like it was a little bit before you actually even started like coaching other individuals on this process.
Yeah, well, I was in a business partnership with a previous business, and so we were, you know, helping clients, working with clients, helping them do the same thing. And so as someone inside of a business this time around, I was also building my own brand. I was building my own reputation, and I was growing myself as that process was happening. Right. So there wasn't some end goal to like launch a big thing. And to be honest, that's a great point, because I think a lot of people don't go about building the brand because they're always waiting for the launch, right? They're waiting for like a reason why they should start growing this ecosystem. And if you think of it like a garden, it's just start planting some plants.
You got to start a long time ago.
Yeah, just start creating a nice soil, nice foundation, get the thing moving, get it growing. And then one day, right, when an opportunity does arise, okay, and somebody says, wow, I see what you have to offer, then you are prepared for it, right? You've got something ready. It's a hell of a lot harder to start when you know, have the idea five years later. Okay, now I'm going to start building a brand, or, you know, getting myself out there because I have the right idea. No, do it. If you're an employee, do it. You know, if you're a business owner, do it. If you're an entrepreneur, do it. If you only have, if you've got ideas, but you don't have anything that you're executing on yet, still just quick reminder, like it is very, very, it's a very strong concept to just continue to build your name and kind of put your thoughts somewhere, because when it comes time for you to launch something, yeah, you'll actually have a little bit of momentum there.
Yeah, really, I kind of woke up to this idea. I had a presidential candidate on for the Libertarian Party, and he said the reason that they picked me to be one of the candidates was because I had a strong presence. And I was like, huh, interesting. So unfortunately, it wasn't even like a popularity contest. It was like a notoriety contest. It was like, is this person even well known enough?
Yep.
And if you look at like some of the people who have ran for president recently, a lot of them that didn't start without like a serious like namesake, like they didn't really even have a chance.
Yeah.
So that kind of woke me up like, oh, so it's sort of like fame first, then you opportunity after. And he was like, I didn't even consider running for president until they asked me. And then I decided, okay, maybe I will. But he wasn't nearly as big as someone like Dave Smith. So Dave Smith, like famous comedian, famous libertarian, if he would throw his hat in the ring, they'd be like, oh, well, like Dave's our candidate. Absolutely, positively, no questions asked. It's not even like an idea contest. It's literally like a fame contest. I don't know if that's a good thing, but that is just the way it works.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, I think that's a great point. I think your thought process is in the right direction. Look, growing a strong brand, you still have to back it up. I have a saying in my company, which is I don't want to make bad people more popular. Okay. So this means like if you don't have a business yet, if you don't have something real, a foundation, then in our process, we're going to give you tools and resources to start kind of working on the brand, getting it going. But as an example, our members go through, an 18-month process. We'll take them from wherever they are currently to, growing a massive audience, booking 100, 200 podcasts, ending up on things like Netflix shows and, high level media. And so, but someone to do that has to have a foundation in a business. But you're absolutely right. My members call me and they say, hey, Jeremy, I just got picked up, for the real estate TV show. We just got picked up for the Netflix show, et cetera. There's no coincidence that, these individuals now have 100, 200,000 followers on their Instagram. They've built a really strong brand. They've done 100 podcast interviews. Now they're getting invited onto these platforms. And so, yeah, it's part of the game. It's part of the, and it always has been. It always has been, right?
That's the most laughable one. And I do see this one where it's like people start posting like what they think like influencers should post, like pictures of them like on the beach next to like a yacht in Miami. And it's like you got like 4 posts like, I'm in real estate. It's like, no, you're not. You don't do anything in real estate. Like, don't lie to me. That one's always hilarious. The one that actually annoys me is when and you can probably tell me like why this is. And it's probably just because I do not put myself out there nearly as well as I should. But I'll see businesses like in our space who I know are not nearly as successful, not nearly as knowledgeable, not nearly as influential, not nearly as long-lived as us. And they'll have like a kind of like a reasonable following, and they'll be putting out just like not great information. And I'm like, this is annoying because like if someone's going to listen to someone, it shouldn't probably be that person. It could be me. And this is what other people coach me on. They're like, well, hey, if you don't put your stuff out there, then other people will be listening to that person as opposed to you.
Yeah, they're just doing what they can with what they have in their current state. And I understand it might be annoying to you. I understand how that feels. I see it. Other people see it. I know friends who see it. But the reality is that like, if for them to do that is has a little bit of confidence. They have some confidence to go share some info. God forbid they impact someone at an even lower level that might help them reach whatever level there's always another mountain at the top of each mountain. Right. So for you, I mean, for you to sit here and tell me your resume, 40 people in the office, massive company, 150 million in product sales, you can't look at someone at that level and get annoyed and not do something about it.
Well, I'm a believer in the market. If people are listening to them, it's like, all right, Alex, you got to you got to put your shit out there and get the eyeballs on you. So
I mean,
I feel you.
people are looking for info. They're looking for a leader. They're looking for somebody to tell them. And so whether it's you or not, that's right. Like someone will fill that space. Now, if you come in and put out better content, if you come in and partner with that smaller company and guide them in the right direction, if you acquire them and you end up helping them out, if you put out better content and make their content look silly, of course, that's when, somebody's going to say, everybody's always going to gravitate towards the truth and the best content. And that's why you'll see, a handful of individuals that people really fall in love with and really, really listen to. And then there's like a ton of others that are just kind of in that basket where, I'm not sure if that's who you'd want to have on at your board, on your board of directors necessarily. Right.
Okay, let's talk some like nuts and bolts then. So where is the start point? If someone's like, okay, I want to build my following. Maybe I have a project I'm working on. Maybe I'm a business owner. Maybe I, want to become a writer, author, podcaster, speaker, singer.
Yeah.
Where does the process start for you and your company?
Well, forget about our process. Let's just take what you said. Anyone in any given scenario with their business, their industry, you need to start with what is the actual end goal that I would like to achieve from building my personal brand. From
start with riches, we'll finish with fame. Well,
yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. And everybody wants to make a little bit of money. Everybody wants, some acclaim and fame.
I mean, hey, for some, it's, there's a few buckets, right? Like for some, it's purely, they've built a massive business. They're already successful. I've got members that when I meet them, they have 500 followers. They do $1 billion a year in real estate production. They've got 200 agents in their business, and they want to build a brand because they want to expand their ecosystem. They want to get involved. They're not being invited to the podcast, even though they should be, right? They're not being invited to the speaking event, even though they should be. Okay. So should be, you still have to, right? You still have to play and enter the game if you want to be a part of that process, right? Or else it's going to be the other guy that gets invited to the speaking event. Mm-hmm. Very simple. So for some, it's impact, and they just want to give back. They want to create content. They want to have fun. They want to get their ideas out there. They've already made money. They've already created success. For others, they're in the momentum of their career right now. Okay. And they have two choices. It's like, just focus on the business. I don't need this. Social media isn't going to impact my business. I'm already doing it. I know what I need to do. And I agree with that. So a lot of people ask me like, do you have to? No, let's be very clear. You do not have to do anything with social media or anything in general. You need to do whatever is best for you. But if you want to expand your ecosystem of, let's say, opportunities, of relationships, of impact, the first thing you need to start with is why. Like, why? Why do it? So you said, I want to grow my following. That's a really bad way for anyone to start a process, right? Just to grow a following? No. Like, let's go 5 layers deeper. What is it actually? Well, grow a following. What I mean is I want people to like and engage with me in regards to my content. Okay, 1 layer deeper. I want people to actually take something away and have it impact their lives. Okay, 1 layer deeper. Maybe I get partnerships and businesses. Maybe I get more money, more deals, more revenue because of it. Okay, right? So let's go to the actual end goal and, I guess, reverse engineer it from there, right?
Okay. I'll use myself as an example because we're only 2 people in the conversation.
Yeah.
I want to, with this podcast, I want to get clients, get good, high quality clients for our company. I would like to have something that is long lasting. So if I decide to, sell this company in 5 to 10 years, it's like I have something that's actually there, and then maybe actually I can make some money with that and make that kind of my job, if you will. Right. One of my kind of ways I give back is I try to help other entrepreneurs as you stated, people who are maybe like not quite to where I am yet, people who are past me, they don't need me. Maybe I got some helpful pieces of advice, but
a little legacy, you know,
it's
in
another good
there.
one. Yep, of course. You know, maybe someday if I have kids and they go, "Was dad cool? Was dad like good at business?" And they go back and listen, they're like, "Wow, he was an idiot." No, hopefully they go, "Wow, he like actually was pretty
Great
thoughtful
mustache
about
though.
this
Great
stuff." Yeah,
mustache.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, future kids.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, those would be kind of the things that I would say there's, you know, potential future revenue sources, clients, and then yeah, as you stated, you know, being helpful for other entrepreneurs in the industry as a whole.
Yeah. You know, people like to do, people like to talk about expanding when things are not going well.
Okay.
You know, people like to say, well, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to switch and change my direction here, maybe if I had built the brand. They have all these thoughts when shit hits the fan. When everything's going really well, revenue is flowing, the business is growing, that's when that's when a lot of people say, I don't need to do all that extra stuff.
Hmm.
I don't need to be an influencer. You know, I don't need to be famous. I mean, we talk to, I don't know, 30 to 60 plus people every week. And that is a lot of the conversation is, you know, helping somebody understand the long term. Why would they start growing their garden now? Okay. Why would they start growing their brand now, even if they don't need it today? And that's exactly why. Because you don't need it. You shouldn't be desperate, hopefully not desperate for a deal or desperate for something tomorrow. Go into it with a 2, 5, 10 year mindset. I mean, take any given, I don't know, big entrepreneurial name. Go look at a Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, 10, 20 years ago, he was making videos of tasting wine and spitting it into a bucket. You know, the videos were pretty low quality. It wasn't anything super sexy. Fast forward currently, I mean, he's got an incredible brand, works with some of the biggest companies in the entire world and helps them build their marketing and branding, right? Look at a guy like Grant Cardone, was building his name for 10, 20, 30 years, had no specific end goal other than to just get his name out there, you know, have a presence. And then all of a sudden he starts, you know, building a massive real estate fund and goes and probably raises tens of millions of dollars through Instagram with a personal brand. And all of a sudden, all the other real estate entrepreneurs in the world go, holy smokes, I never thought that I could meet someone through social that could impact my real life and my business in that way. Right. So if you just look back at the people who have been doing it and going for it, those are the individuals that then figured out their end goal or something that they really wanted to accomplish. And it's kind of ever changing, but yeah.
Okay, so we've got our kind of start with the goal in mind. Then what do? I get out there, I start taking, you know, gym selfies of myself and posting
Yeah.
those. Like,
Hey,
I mean,
yeah,
what does that process look like? I have so many questions about like what platforms are people thinking about? Again, that's probably targeted to what audience and idea you have
exactly.
in mind. But how do you begin to think about like the what and
Yeah.
the
So,
where?
you know, you want to start with what business, what project, what am I doing in real life? Okay.
Hmm.
Social for a lot of people is a reflection of what they actually do. Okay. And how they can incorporate it, even in the smallest way. Like you said, the gym selfie. Well, if fitness and health and wellness is a part of your ecosystem of your brand, okay, balanced between your business in the office, who you are at home, father, husband, wife, you know, um, what you do for fun, you out there, sports, rock climbing, hiking, golfing. This is all a part of the brand. And I know it sounds so simple and so silly, but there's a lot of content, let's say for context on Instagram, that you could go into your iPhone right now and just put up a handful of quality images that balance between professional, personal, hobbies, lifestyle. And that initial goal might just be to build a quality looking page so that if people check you out, if people search you, if people, you know, Google your name because you're already doing business in real life, Now they have a stronger reference point. Okay. So for someone who has a successful business, man, what a shame when someone Googles their name and goes on social and they're hoping that they find, like you said earlier, that leader. They're hoping that they find that person that really makes them go, wow. I knew this guy was a rock star. What a shame for them to go to a page that just looks like an empty lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you're not concerned with the posts being perfect, essentially, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely not. There's no such thing. Okay. First off, like, the reason no one starts is because they think of the content strategy. They're like, I got to post 27 times a day. I've got to do it the right way, the right angle, all this BS. My process is extremely unorthodox because it's real. Let's start with who you are, what you have to offer. And that could be a selfie at the gym. I mean, it really could be. That just says like, hey, go get after it today. Could be that simple. In fact, some of my closest friends who have businesses that do 10, 20, 30, 40 million a year, those individuals post those things still to this day. Hey, go get after it. Hope you have a great day. Like, as simple as that. And they are extremely high thinking, high performing entrepreneurs. So what does that tell you? It tells you a few things. What's real is never going to change. Okay. How someone can just present themselves as an individual and balance this brand between real life and then, yes, maybe highly edited content, professional content around certain subjects. All of those things can be added in later. But if you want to think about the MVP, like just the most valuable action that you could take today for the business, most people, it's doing a page audit on themselves. Okay. And just making sure that they have a profile that looks good, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever platform you choose, making sure that it's professional, it's caught up to speed, and that there's something there for people to engage with and see.
Okay. So
hope that gives you a good overview.
No, I'm following. High quality looking page. Actually start posting here and there. I guess the two questions then would be, one, what platforms are you primarily thinking of right now, and maybe how do you compare and contrast the pros and cons? Like, do I post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter and TikTok and so on?
Yeah, I mean, most of us don't have the bandwidth nor the necessity to be on like more than 2 platforms at a time. Especially if you're just getting started. You want to go really deep. Okay. Just like in a marketing strategy, I'm sure you don't have 17 different marketing strategies. I'm sure you have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 max that really drive all of the revenue for your business. So pick 1 or 2, depending on your business. Suit and tie business, LinkedIn is great. Entrepreneurial in general, you plan on building this ecosystem where you could be a speaker, you could be on podcasts, you could be, a high-level entrepreneur, you could drive sales, relationships. Instagram is in the middle. It's certainly a great platform that has kind of just stood the test of time so far, and it's always been the go-to for people to decide if they like you. Really, I think that's like that end ROI is that platform. Do I like this person? Can I get an idea of who they are? Are they a family person? Do they do things that I like and agree with? That's a great platform to just share a balance of content. YouTube, of course, long form. So anywho, without describing all these, whatever you're doing, just decide what platform kind of fits the mold. Okay. Yes, page audit, get some stuff going, get yourself moving, get some content up there, and then figure out what is the next most important action for you and your current business. So for people that need new relationships, maybe that person that you mentioned earlier that has a business that's not as big as yours, they're putting out the content, their focus, if they want to grow their business, would possibly be to reach out to people like you through their social and hopefully get in contact with them so they can learn something, so they could grow the business. Okay. Why do we utilize social, right? For a flow of new relationships, a flow of new connections, a flow of new engagement. So everyone should ask themselves, what's my next and most important action in my business and in my real life, and then associate and mirror that. If you need a new client and you're in real estate, yeah, you should be sending 100 messages every few days. You should be contacting as many people as possible to build relationships, connections, hopefully gain phone numbers, emails, and use your brand as a bit of a business card, right? To open up your network. That's just an example. So
my second question was going to be, how do you get people to begin to care? There's so much noise out there on social media. This is the secret sauce, right?
yeah,
Everybody has an Instagram and they're all posting, but almost everyone I know has 248 followers, right? So it's like, that's just their friends and loose acquaintances, and every once in a while they may pick up a follower at random. How do you get like people to care? Because that's seemingly the big thing, to jump from a couple hundred followers, a couple hundred subscribers to like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. How does that process occur?
Well, when it's time for you, okay, to really put some gas on the, this is something that doesn't just happen. Slow and steady does not win that race.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I always hear. Just keep posting. But I'm like, what if I just keep posting and nothing ever happens? Like, I've looked at pages that have like 300 podcasts and they have like 100 views each, and I'm like, I don't want to be this.
Yeah. So let's look at that really quick. Why haven't they made a change? The reason is they don't have the proper end goal that they might be looking for. So if they post 300 times and then they say, man, no one's called me about my business. I haven't met Alexander. I haven't met a new mentor. I haven't gotten that thing that I actually came on here for. So wouldn't you look back and go, maybe doing 300 podcasts in a row and not getting the result, maybe that's not the process for that end goal, right? So you would say, okay, well then what is? Okay, well, if I wanted phone numbers, okay, let's just use a simple example. I mean, you can try and equate this to whatever your situation is, but if I wanted a phone number, if I wanted your phone number, okay, because that was going to help my business today. Yeah, I can post, I can continue doing all things to make sure my page looks good, be active, okay? But I'm actually not, at that point, I'm not worried about likes, I'm not worried about views. I want your phone number. That's all I want. That's what's going to impact my business. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go send you a genuine message, connect with you, engage with you and everyone around you, and hopefully get a message back, hopefully get one contact that day, pick up the phone, meet them, connect with them, just like we do in real life, just like we do in real business. And maybe somebody knows you that ends up introducing me. Maybe I get your phone number directly and I get on the phone with you. But the point is, people really overcomplicate why they're on social and for what reason and how to go after that actual end goal. Okay. So posting is good to the extent that it makes your page look good and it's important. But you really need to identify, like, what is the actual MVP? What's the actual most valuable action step each day? It's like saying, I've got my business card, I've got my website, and I'm ready to do business. And now what do I need to do? I've got to pick up the phone. It's just that simple, right? Like, you do all these fancy, fluffy things, but then when it's time to pick up the phone, you're like, oh, that's the thing that actually makes the business money. Oh, that's the thing that moves this thing forward. Now, when it's time for somebody to really grow the brand, like we were just saying a few seconds ago, that's when they start to put money behind it. Maybe they come to a company like mine and we help them go from, if you're looking at the graph and the chart, like I said, slow and steady is not going to win that race. So when they start to invest in things like influencer publications, they start getting on podcasts, they start growing their name and growing their brand, okay, putting themselves on a pedestal a bit, okay? And I mean that genuinely. I don't mean to, make them, fire themselves up. Okay, this is what is needed. Just like showing up to a business meeting for the first time with somebody, if you are dressed and well-spoken, it might go better than if you aren't. So putting some fuel on the fire and watching the brand. Have you ever looked on social and you just start seeing someone show up
Yeah.
and you're like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's on every podcast, he's on every speaking event, and he just becomes a name. He or she becomes a name almost, it feels overnight, because the minute that they start to actually grow and take off, they pour all of the gas on the fire.
Okay. I've definitely seen that, where they'll go from Joe Rogan to Lex to Chris Williamson to like Theo. It's just like, whoa, it's just like every podcast. Like, and sometimes it'll literally publish like a day or two apart, and you're like, what happened here? And that's on a huge scale. Like and I know what you mean, where it's like, it's just happening on a small scale. They're everywhere.
I mean, find these stories and look at how simple it really is. Do you know Gary Brecka?
Yeah. The 10X Health.
Yeah. So he just, he's not with Cardone anymore. Oh, there you go. So, he just filed a lawsuit against them, ironically.
I saw the 10X rule behind you. It's funny.
Yeah. So as an example, we watched Gary Brecka connect with Grant, many years ago when he was just running his, I guess, in-person clinic or something of that nature. Okay, partners, starts to build a relationship with a guy like Grant. Grant puts him on a stage. Immediately, his relationships, I mean, he had already had incredible relationships with clients, but immediately that brand recognition starts putting him in the room with people who, one person, and he just told this story on a podcast recently, that it was Elena Cardone's friend that he served her. And then she had such a great testimonial. She was friends with Dana White, and she introduced Dana White to Gary because of one client, because of one relationship. So putting the pieces together is really not that complicated. It's the same thing with social. Build a great brand with what you can and what you have. Go look for somebody that might impact and is important in your business, whether it's a client, a person, a mentor. What do you need in your life, and what could you reciprocate and provide value to? And all the other things. I know everybody's always looking for the nuts and bolts and the technical, but Jeremy, what time do I post today? Well, how do I get more likes? But should I angle it this way, and the lighting? Yeah. Look, we can go over that for a decade, but until you know why and what you actually want out of any of this, all that stuff not so important.
So I guess then the question would be like, what if what you want, what you desire is, I want to build as large of a following as possible, because I just know top of the funnel, like it'll all funnel down into whatever, people purchasing my book, or people viewing my podcast. My podcast has more views, it gets more sponsorships. More views on my podcast equals bigger funnel, equals more potential clients come. I totally understand what you're saying. It's like, Alex, if you want one big CPG brand owner to like connect with you, like you don't need a million people to listen to your podcast. You need one person. I totally follow that, but there has to be some value and scale, of course.
But here's the thing. You're correct. You're correct. I'm not against that at all. I believe having a strong follow, it's part of our business and our process. We have the 100K club. We have 1 million members. Somebody comes through my process, the first thing we do in 3 to 6 months is grow them to their first 100,000 followers. That's the first part of the process. Why? Because exactly what you just said. If we take care of some of these really important things first, okay, then the podcast wants you on. Then the guy that you'd like to connect with is much more willing to connect with you. And he might not even know why. You get on the phone, you say, why'd you take the call? Well, I saw you had 150,000 followers. I thought I might as well have a quick chat with you.
Yeah, right.
I can't tell you how many times that is the intro to a phone call over the past 10 years, by the way. In my early 20s, when I started to grow my following and we were starting to build our brands, we probably had no business speaking on stage with people like Grant Cardone, but there I am speaking on stage with Cardone and many other amazing entrepreneurs in my early 20s, because we had built a brand that put us in contact with people, that allowed us to get connected to these guys. And so, yeah, it's really powerful to start with that. But It's not the following that's the goal. It's all of those other things that you mentioned, having more awareness on the podcast, having better relationships for the business. Those are the real reasons you would then invest in having a larger following. Okay.
So when you say like invest, what does that fundamentally look like? Are you investing in, are you running paid ads on your YouTube videos? Are you paying to be in Forbes? I know there's plenty of, I get hit up with them
There
all
are
the time.
lots of ways. There are lots of ways to grow an audience, and I do not have, a one way for everyone. If anybody ever tells you that there's only one way to do it, that's a huge red flag. Um, what I would again, unorthodox, unpopular opinion, when someone says to you, I just want to grow organically, that is something I would be very careful, and you want to watch out, because you wouldn't want to grow a business organically. Okay. I wouldn't want to wait around for clients to come to me. I want to put resources, tools, money, people behind an idea and push it. The same thing with your brand. So for our process, we partner with influencers that have anywhere from 500,000 to 10 million followers. We run massive influencer publications where they drive their audience to a small list of our members to engage, to follow. And this is how they grow a really large audience by volume, okay, in a short period of time. And then they back it up with actually showing up and building relationships with people, actually going out in the marketplace, getting on podcast interviews, media appearances. And so it's like a yin and yang for our process, for our members, a yin and yang between massive publications to grow and have credibility and numbers. And then on the other hand, organic growth by actually getting out and doing things that are going to impact your name and your brand and your business as well.
I'm totally with you on the, let's just let it be organic. It's like, okay, I want to meet my wife organically. It's like, well, good luck. Like, how long do you have to wait for that? Like, how many coffee shops do you have to walk into before you see the love of your life, buddy? Like, you might have to get on the app and start swiping a little bit.
By the way, even if you walk into the coffee shop and you see her, organic in my mind would mean you hope she says hi to you.
Yeah, right. Or oh, I'm sorry I bumped into you at the register there. Like,
yeah. But putting pressure is actually going up and doing the uncomfortable thing. Okay. Actually going and saying hi, asking for her number, asking whatever that process looks like. Okay. That's inorganic in terms of how people, so there's a little bit of this mixed thing. You say, oh, do you just want to hope that people follow you? Well, no. I want it to just happen naturally. Okay. Well, you wouldn't want that to happen in any other aspect of your life. So why would you want to wait around 10, 20 years to have some credibility on social media?
Yeah, I think there's a balance though, obviously. We run into a lot of businesses that are like venture backed and they're just like pouring cash into it. And I'm like, this is just not a good business. Like, no hard feelings, but like, I don't think that the industry needs another one of these. So then they just throw the money. And eventually I'm just like, I know what's going to happen. This money's going to run out and this is going to be, a shitstorm. So I would figure it's very similar with social. It's like some amount of money is helpful, but you actually have to have some of that organic. Like people have to actually care a little bit about what this person's saying.
The important thing that you just said is it's not so much about how much money they spend on their brand. Because you can practically find a team of people and invest and they'll put you on the biggest stage. Okay. They'll grow you to 1 million followers. They'll put you on the biggest stage. Okay. I mean, money is a powerful resource in regards to branding. They'll put you in Forbes. Okay. All of that can be done. And by the way, it is done by a lot of high level people, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. I watched my mentor personally help the people I mentioned. Patrick Bet-David, Damon John, Kevin O'Leary, Cardone, all these individuals grow to their first 1 million. And now they're at probably 4 or 5 because they've been doing this for 5, 10 years. Okay. So they have a team of people that help them grow. Certainly. The difference is the people that have nothing to back it up. They don't have a business. They don't have substance. They don't have something to bring to the marketplace. You're right. It'll just end up kind of dying and being a shell. You can put a ton of marketing behind something that's not sexy or not real or it doesn't have any value. And at the end of the day, the market will decide, right?
Okay, take me through. Let's say I have infinite money. Like, just money is no object, Jeremy. Like, I'm going to spend whatever it takes to get 1 million followers. What are the things that people are going to go out and pay for and buy? Like, what is just obvious? Oh, you'll do X and Y and Z.
Yeah, I think that the obvious would be unlimited funds. You would create high quality content,
Yep.
okay, for your brand. You would have a team of people taking care of that. You would make sure that you have an agenda, a calendar for the year, showing up to different events, podcasts, speaking events, collaborations with other influencers or other high-level entrepreneurs that also have a big audience right off the bat. Okay. And then
how would the money help you? Like, I'm a little confused. Would money help you get those speaking events? Like, would the money help you get on the, I don't figure I can pay Joe Rogan to come on the podcast.
No, absolutely not. For what you can in the beginning of, let's say you don't really have any reputation
Yeah.
in the market right now, which is kind of important to note, right? You have to work with where you are currently.
Mhm.
Okay. So someone would invest in influencer campaigns. Someone would invest in, you can certainly pay to be on a lot of podcasts. That's for sure. Not Joe Rogan, but
Yeah.
thousands of others. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you don't have to even pay to be on a lot of podcasts to go get your name out there, right? So I would have an agenda and a calendar of something that you're going to do as often as possible throughout the year to make sure you're always putting your name out there. Influencer publications, like I mentioned, that's something that our team, my company handles. I'm sure there are many other methods. Paid ads, of course, driving as much traffic as possible to your posts, to your, I mean, these platforms give you the options to do that.
Oh yeah.
But you talk about, well, I want to do it organically. And then you post a photo or a video and it says, do you want to increase the engagement on this? Click here and spend money. Okay. So, but don't forget about the business, right? So make sure the business and your actual thing is the foundation of why you would be invited onto the Joe Rogan, why you're going to be invited onto the 10X stage and speak. It's because of the things that you actually do in real life, just as much as the money that you pour into the brand. So they go hand in hand. You can't just pour money into the brand and have nothing to stand on in real life.
Okay. That makes sense. You're going to run, your post on Facebook, you're going to sponsor it. Post on X, you're going to sponsor it. You're going to post on LinkedIn. I think you can maybe sponsor on LinkedIn. You're going to post on YouTube and get those PPCs running, pre-roll ads. So you're going to do all that, have a built out calendar, have a very, very well-established media team. You're going to get in those publications. Like, you're going to pay to push into those, different various media outlets, maybe pay to be on some podcasts. That makes sense. What if I'm balling on a budget? Like, what would be like because we already established, like, organic's great, and sure, like, if you can make that work, amazing. Like, I'm skeptical Sam Sulik ever paid to, like, run ads on any of his videos. But
yes, then we would go back to what we were talking about for the first 30 minutes of this podcast, all of those action steps, all of those MVP, making sure the page looks good, going after the target, the real end goal of the day. I just need to make 10, 20 new contacts this month and that'll impact my business. It's either grow the business and do the things necessary to grow the business in real life and make an impact. Okay. How do you grow a following with zero budget? Go engage with people in real life.
I got a little budget. Let's say I have a little budget.
Sure. Yeah, find someone who can help you manage social and pay as an example. Go hire a VA to go engage with as many people as possible on a daily basis through your social. Send people messages, engage with them, like, comment, send them a genuine message, but also make sure you have a good end goal in mind. Again, so what is the end goal? To grow the business. If the business grows, the revenue grows, you have more in the war chest, and then you can at some point make a really big change, a pivotal point where you actually put some serious gasoline on the fire. So again, can it happen in perfect harmony as the business grows and your brand grows? Absolutely. But when I got introduced to Grant Cardone and I sat in a room with only 200 people at that time, okay, and he was telling that story of, it was just in the past few years where his brand took off, and he really, and his business, where he really started to become wealthy and make a lot of money. It wasn't the 30 years before. It was just in the past few years that happened. And that was, almost 10 years ago now.
Right.
Okay,
200
so
people doesn't sound like a big audience for Grant, right?
yeah, and then a few years later, we're in the Marlins, stadium with 30,000, and then, now he's doing what he's doing, and now he's in politics, as an example. Now he's found the next stage.
Jeez, I didn't know that. We're gonna have Governor Grant.
Basically, he's running. Yeah, he's doing a big campaign throughout California, and so again, there's always going to be a mountain at the top of the, each mountain that you climb. Okay. But look at that ecosystem. Look how that has, provided and grown and changed. So do what you can with what you have now. Okay. And I got to pop off here in just a minute, but do what you can with what you have now. If you don't have a big budget, you need to get hands-on, nitty-gritty. There is no special formula for sending messages to people and engaging with them. You want more likes and more comments, go make more friends. Yeah. Okay. You want more engagement, go to more events. Okay. Get yourself into a position where those things would come to you because you actually are in the market. And then when you have the ability and capital, find a team of people, whether it's myself or whether it's hundreds of others, I'm sure that you can find out there, anyone that could help you, or build a team to go push everything that you want and everything that you have to offer and get it out there.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. Where can people catch up with you?
Hopefully our team will send over like a link.
We will post all the links. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So there's a link with like tons of examples. If anybody wants to just take a look at some of our members that have kind of gone through this brand journey and this process, some of these guys have gone from hardly any personal brand whatsoever a few years ago to, Netflix superstars, to business superstars, to doing 100+ podcasts. And they've built a system around their name and around their brand, something that's really actually impacted and become an asset in the business. So if you want to, I think you can book a call from that page, no problem. You could speak to our team, strategy call, no risk whatsoever. So yeah, guys, happy to connect. And
heck yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate you, man. And I think what you're doing is impressive stuff, and it's a difficult field. So I have a lot of admiration for what you've done.
Appreciate it. Right back at you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, man.